Hello and welcome. In this video I want to talk about real fighting stances that you can use in actual combat, not like the Kung Fu stances that I've already told you beforehand. So, first and foremost, there is no perfect fighting stance, not even for yourself, because depending on the situation and, for example, how many opponents you face, or how even when you face only one opponent, depending on how this opponent fights, another fighting stance is more useful for you. But if you feel very comfortable in one fighting stance, then you should always rely on this one and not one that is perfectly adapted to the situation. So there are only situational perfect fighting stances. But something that I really want to mention regarding fighting stances is that you will probably have seen the boxing fighting stance like this pretty often. So this fighting stance is not suited for real combat. This is because this stance is to protect your face and your upper body, but it is only capable of doing this because of the huge gloves boxers have. If you are in real combat and you only have your fists and you protect your head like this, then you are wide open. The opponent can attack at the side, at the top of your head, and you're not even able to protect your entire face. Only like this you could protect your eyes, but then you wouldn't see anything. So this stance is highly flawed when you are in. So I would really recommend you to never use this stance in real fighting. But otherwise, like I've said, there are many different fighting stances. For example, this is one that I've used against someone that really liked to kick into my sides. And that's why I've got my arm down here, my left arm, so I can protect my downside with this arm, like if he kicks down here, or even if he goes for a kick in this direction, and especially if he wants to kick into my side. And the other arm up here is for protecting my face and the upper part of my body. And I can still do fast attacks from down there as well. But of course, this hand will be faster to my opponent's face. So that's why there is always merits from your fighting stances, like me, like this one, protecting my lower body pretty good and my sides. But I've got only one hand up here to do really fast attacks to his upper body. But I can attack his lower body with my hand. But one thing that is pretty common in between my fighting stances is that I'm standing pretty low. So I've got a good base and I'm standing really stable, so I can punch and kick with a great force, because I can pull a lot of power from the earth into my attacks. And also, if my opponent wants to push me down or do some throws and stuff like that, if I have a good standing, it won't be as easy for him. And I've got the possibility, the time and the position to do counter attacks. So another fighting stance is like this, where I have both my hands up, meaning my lower body is less protected, but I have got one hand here in front that is very good to interrupt attacks from my opponent pretty early. And I can also do very quick punches to their face, so they will get distracted for a real attack with my rear hand, where I can punch because of the longer way with much force, like fast attacks like this, and then pow! But you should also be able to do hard punches with your front hand, Later on in another video I will talk about punches, but if you're only able to do hard punches with your behind hand, then your opponent will always know that this hand is just for distraction and not a real threat. But if you can also do hard punches with your front hand, then this will be a threat as well, and your opponent has to react accordingly. Meaning you have got more possibilities and your opponent has more things he has to be aware of. And like I said, I've got a lot of low standing fighting stances, but this also goes to show how important it is to practice your Kung Fu stances or your standing and your leg power, like with holding Mabu for example. So you are able to firstly hold the stance, but also able to do fast attacks from the stance and to stand up fast. If you have got a low stance and you have a stable stand and so on, but you don't have the strength to stand up fast, your attacks will be slow and it will be pretty easy to dodge your attacks or to evade them in another way. This is one of the reasons as well why there are high standing fighting stances and where you will jump a lot, so you have quick movement and where you can do fast hops, jump into your opponent, jump back, so where you need good footwork as well. But this is one thing that I often heard, but it's actually not that true, even though when you have got the low fighting stance, of course it is different than when you would be standing up and jumping all the time, but you can also be really fast in this stance. Only because you're staying low doesn't mean that you can't be as fast, but you will need the strength in the training to be as fast. So if you just want to be fast, easily and without a lot of training, stances like this, the hands, like you can have however you want them. So like I've said, just there are many possibilities, just try them out, and if you've got someone else to practice with, you can learn more about the merits and the demerits of each position you have your hands in. Like I've told you, like this position, there's also something like this hand in the front to interrupt and to do fast punches, this hand a bit lower to protect my lower body, so the behind hand now. But that means also if this hand is away and you're not fast enough to move this hand up, your face is unprotected. But it also has the merit that this hand can really good protect your lower body, and you have the hand here in front. So like I've said, it always depends on the situation and also your fighting style. So if you want to be fast and jump a lot around, forward, backward and so on, you should have a pretty high stance, meaning your legs are not that far apart from each other and have a lot of moving, like jumping around like this the whole time. But if you want to have a good foundation to do powerful punches and kicks, even though you're not a muscle fight typer or something like that, then you should have a low stance, meaning the legs are more apart from each other and more weight is put onto your legs like this, and then you're standing stable and you're able to do with good hip movement fast punches. But this also means you can be fast, you can still jump around, attack forwards, backwards, but you will always be like a tree with the roots in the ground where you can pull your power and energy from. Like, even though I'm pretty high, I'm pretty tall, I don't have so much weight, and this means I don't have the mass for really hard power attacks. But with the right technique and with the good foundation from the stance, I'm still able to do really hard punches. Because I know how to use every last bit and part of my body to produce as much speed and power as possible. So I'm not only using my body, but also the ground where I can pull the strength from. And if you practice like this and use stances like this, you can also do this. Don't be surprised when I'm looking a bit different now. It's just that I remembered that I'd forgotten to mention something before, and that is when we are doing our fighting stance, that we do not want our upper body to face to the front, but more like 45 degrees. This is because if somebody would do a kick to our, let's say to the stomach, and if it would hit, it's actually sliding a bit to the side, just like I'm doing it with my hand now. If we are having our upper body facing the front, the kick would straight up hit us with the full power. But like this, one part of the power is getting directed to the side and sliding off. Of course, we will still get hitten, but not by the full force of the punch. That's why fighting stance, our body is not facing the front, but not entirely to the side as well, but like 45 degrees, like this. So if you still got any questions, feel free to put them in the comments down below, and I hope you have a good training. Until next time, goodbye.